outgoing and well-educated, Cornelia became a Qantas flight attendant, a job she loved. But in the late 90s, she joined a secretive Sydney cult, and friends and family noticed a dramatic change in her personality.
Like I had a normal life before that, and I just feel very uncomfortable about getting involved with them.
And that group was called Kенja?
Kенja, yeah.
Cornelia claims Dyers humiliated and bullied her after she fell out of favour with the cult leader.
I'm on the phone with a Member of Parliament now. Would you mind standing back?
It was at a rehearsal in the afternoon, so everyone comes from all the states. People from Canberra are down there, people from Sydney and people from Melbourne. Everybody's been working there, doing their scenes, and they all came together to put all the scenes together, do a big run-through prior to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first day of competitions at Kennedy Stedford, a showcase of humans!
He said that she was running the show down, dragging everybody down. And he made reference to her attached spirits, that she had an attached spirit there that was dragging her backwards and that she had to get rid of it or get off the show.
And how did you feel watching that?
Well, it was fairly crushing. I mean, it was a Kенja confront. It was the sort of thing that happens, and when you're in there, you're sort of steeled against it, you know, and you just go quiet and you hope it's not you.
You know, Ken would, he'd praise certain people when it was right to praise them in front of the group, and he'd tear people apart as well in front of the group. It just depended on keeping people on edge, I think, and it was ruling through fear. You just didn't know what was going to happen.
One of the reasons for it is that everybody else goes shit and lifts their game, tries not to be the next target.
Yeah, I had been looking forward to it, and I guess Ken didn't think I performed that well on the stage, so he sort of gave me a talking to, and I mean, what can you do? You just perform as well as you think it's possible, and I performed okay, I think, compared to the other people too. I was fine. So.
She was wandering around. I think people noticed. She had become very lost and was beginning to sort of be disoriented. As while their Stepford was going on, her condition deteriorated, and then all of a sudden she was just gone.
Most mental illness is the deterioration over a period of time. But sometimes that unravelling can happen very, very quickly, over days. And the groups usually very quickly get those people out of the organisation.
Kенja long-termer drove her out to the Tullamarine airport, put her on a plane and told her never to come back to Kенja. 2 days or 3 days later, the New South Wales police picked her up driving on the wrong side of the road. That's when the entire thing began.
And if you were to look back kind of on your time during Kenya, how would you kind of define that period of your life?
It wasn't really a good period of my life.
I used to tell them to go, and that was bad.
Do you think they feel betrayed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all, if you haven't experienced it, you don't miss it.
What I'd like to see Kенja do for people that don't fit into Kенja is at least have a psychiatrist or a psychologist that sort of understands something about Kенja and that these people can be referred to. Because, I mean, it's just harsh. You know, I mean, these people, they consider themselves more spiritual, more evolved, more loving than the average person, and yet they treat some people so badly.
Do you encourage them to go and see a therapist?
No. No, I'm not going to do that. That's their life. I don't really give that kind of advice. Because whether they go and see a therapist is what they... If I was to say that to them, it wouldn't make a bit of difference. If they needed to experience degradation, they needed to experience pain, they needed to experience what they're experiencing. More than half the world calls it karma, or worse to that effect.
But if a therapist can't help them, and if Kенji can't help them, who can help them?
No one. Only themselves.
Themselves, yeah.
And they will go through it in time.
Yeah.
Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in the next one, maybe in another 10 years they'll have gone past this level. So I've got to protect the kids against that sort of thing, so I don't handle things like that. Like this Rao girl, I don't want to catch it. No. I don't want to process it. They weren't prepared to handle bipolar disease. No. They weren't prepared for that. I could, but I haven't got the time to do it.
One of the things that you try and avoid in good therapy is what is called abreaction. That's when a person goes back to an experience that they've had and they literally relive it. It's as if they are actually having that experience again. So say a woman was raped, she literally feels as if she's being raped again. Now that is not therapeutic. That's what you try and avoid in good therapy.
He was lovable, everybody loved Richard. He went to NIDA, the acting college, graduated from there, and then he became involved in live theatre. Then he decided he needed to do something about his issues concerning being abused as a child, and found himself a support group. He saw an advertisement for a personal development and support group. The way it was worded indicated it was an alternate way to look at life, to help you deal with issues and traumas. So at the time he was ready to acknowledge his pain with regard to the sexual abuse. He was probably associated with this organisation for about 4.5 years.
So what they did with Richard was they sat around in a circle, they had what they called a session. There was a group of people that had been molested as children. They all took off their undergarments and they were all fondled.
Fondled by who?
Fondled by a processor. They had a good adult fondling. I don't think Richard coped with any of that too well.
He just spiralled into depression as a result of it. He just deteriorated with his mental health, and that resulted in him being homeless, living on the streets with a very severe mental illness, and this particular group turned their back on him. His ex-wife had told me that a friend had seen him in central Sydney and that he was in a very, very poor state, both mentally and physically. He was adamant he was all right, but he was rummaging through a garbage bin looking for food. And when I first went down to Sydney to look for him, that's where I found him, pacing up and down in front of this organisation. Yeah. We heard him belting on the door. Eventually somebody shouted through the door for him to go away, that he wasn't welcome there anymore. And then eventually the door, because he just persisted, opened and he was told to leave, and he was physically ejected, so to speak, from the premises of this organisation that he had been very, very involved with. Yeah. We waited for him and encouraged him to come with us. We wanted to bring him back because of the paranoid schizophrenia. He was